know what led to this shooting incident, but we can say that there were several bullet casings, a number of casings that were located here on scene, and we believe that several firearms were used.
A man and woman are dead, and 2 other men are in hospital following what police have described as a gun battle outside of Scarborough Plaza early this morning. Good evening. Dozens of shell casings littered the parking lot in the area of Ellesmere Road and Oakville Boulevard near Midland.
Police have not confirmed how many shots were fired, but they say it appears multiple shooters were involved. CTV's Beth McDonnell is in Scarborough tonight and joins us live with the latest. Beth.
Natalie, up to 50 shots were fired. Police saying this appears to have been a gun battle, with most of the violence playing out on the side and front of the plaza. There's a plethora of yellow evidence markers around the parking lot, a sign of just how big the shooting spree was that unfolded in this Scarborough Plaza.
It has all of the earmarks of what would appear to be a gun battle.
Toronto police say 1 male victim was pronounced dead at the scene and a female victim rushed to hospital also lost her life. While 2 other male victims survived, they were seriously hurt. Officers were called to Ellesmere near Midland shortly after 2:30 in the morning. Up to 50 bullets were fired from several guns.
I'm shocked. 50 casings. Well, I only heard about 5 gunshots, so I don't know what transpired after that. But it's just horrific when it's in your area.
About 30 minutes before the barrage, 1 woman was coming home after being with friends. Her bedroom window meters from the plaza.
There was about 10 gunshots and then probably about another 10 gunshots, but from a different gun. Like, they sounded very different. It was already surreal, and then when you find out that you've known the kid, you know, it definitely hits a little bit harder.
Homicide detectives and forensic investigators have been combing the plaza and working to collect video. What started the rash of shots or how many were in the plaza at the time of the shooting is not yet fully understood. The vehicles still parked, beer bottles and personal items left behind are possible clues into what went wrong.
We are going to have additional neighborhood officers here, and the Toronto Police and 41 Division are going to continue to assess the need to maybe have a command post or additional resources here.
A quadruple shooting leading to a call for stronger firearm restrictions.
We have to have somebody to care about the safety of the people in the community.
They're poor mums. You know, they're somebody's sons or brothers, and it's awful. I just don't understand the gang violence. I mean, it's like the Wild Wild West.
The bullets claiming 2 lives and changing others forever. Police say 1 firearm has been recovered. They haven't said if any of the victims are believed to have been responsible for any of the shooting. Tonight, we have no suspect information. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. The SIU is investigating a police-involved shooting in Cabbagetown last night. Police were called to the Carlton and Parliament area just after 7 p.m. for reports of a man with a knife. The man was involved in an interaction with officers, which led him to being shot. He was rushed to hospital, where he remains in serious condition.
There was nobody on the street, maybe 4 or 5 people at the time, and I heard 3 gunshots back to back. And as soon as I heard it, the 3 or 4 people that were there ran across the street. They all kind of tried to get somewhere safe.
I don't know, the city is not safe anymore. I've been living here for over 15 years, and a lot of things have changed, and it's not for the better.
The SIU investigates incidents involving police which results in death, serious injury, or allegations of sexual assault. The agency is asking anyone with information to contact them or Crime Stoppers.
Police are searching for a suspect after a rideshare driver was stabbed in Scarborough today. Officers were called to the area of Kingston Road and Shepherd Avenue just before 2 p.m. They allege a passenger stabbed the driver, who was taken to hospital in serious condition. The suspect is described as 20 to 25 years old, 5'7", with a slim build. Investigators are appealing to anyone with information to contact them.
Peel Regional Police are investigating a crash in Mississauga. Police say a vehicle collided with a pole near McLaughlin Road in Britannia. The southbound lanes of McLaughlin have been shut down from Britannia to Regal Drive. So far, there's been no word on what led to the crash. The province is providing millions of dollars to speed up construction on the Gardiner.
The goal is to shave a year off the timeline and improve the flow of traffic in the meantime. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris has been following this story and joins us live with the details. Siobhan.
Well, we're hearing a lot of positivity from drivers, but also some skepticism. But we do hear from the government that they know that this construction on the Gardiner has really been frustrating for regular drivers and for the city's economy. This is what your drive on the Gardiner Expressway looks like these days. Tail lights and a slow roll even outside rush hour. The result of a multi-year rebuild of the Gardiner between Strawn and Dufferin.
I was wishing I could go for a 3-year vacation somewhere.
They have to do it as soon as possible.
The province is throwing money at the problem that is the Gardiner,
providing up to $73 million to the City of Toronto on the condition that work be allowed to proceed on a 24/7 basis.
Sarkaria says that will shave a year off the timeline, putting the end of the traffic nightmare in April 2026.
No one wants to be stuck in traffic. It's frustrating. It gets your blood pressure up.
Some of the money will go to other measures to keep cars moving.
Modification of the Jewison to westbound Gardiner on-ramp and opening a left turn lane at Spadina Avenue from Lakeshore East Boulevard.
It's a bailout welcomed by those who found themselves stuck in a logjam.
Speeding up the Gardiner is going to help a little bit. We got to get King Street fixed. It's just not a good time right now to be driving around in the summertime.
There's aggravation. 24/7 construction on such a key artery wasn't the plan all along.
Where was the discussion on it? Where was the coordination of it? Where were people consulted?
While Olivia Chow says this all started before she was mayor.
Everything about the Gardiner is very complex.
She's been accused of mismanaging the project.
This is the busiest section of the Gardiner where the impact in terms of congestion is the greatest, and that should have been factored in right from the get-go.
The city expects some pushback for around-the-clock work from those living close to the Gardiner.
The more noisy and demolition work will happen during the day, in the evenings.
But there's a feeling it's what needs to be done.
I support that, as long as they can finish it in shorter time. But let's see how they manage that.
The transportation minister says there are incentives on the line.
Those individuals, that contractor does not meet the specific deadlines, then that payment will not be made.
A project too important to fall behind on. Well, this afternoon, city councillors backed a motion by Brad Bradford to make sure the planning process of this construction is looked at to make sure that mistakes aren't repeated. Reporting live, I'm Siobhan Morris. Natalie, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Siobhan. Still to come, breathing room for borrowers as the Bank of Canada drops its overnight lending rate and signals more cuts could come. We'll have those details a little later in the show. Well, the rain that came down across the city this afternoon has led to flooding on the lakeshore. Traffic cameras captured the impact near Lakeshore Boulevard and Ontario Drive. Police were warning drivers to avoid the area. 3 eastbound lanes were completely underwater at one point.
Well, we got more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city tonight. The rain has passed. It came in waves. Right now, it's cloudy and humid. However, the next few days are looking nice and sunny. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions and quite a bit of rain earlier.
It was. We've already set a monthly rainfall total record, and that really kind of solidified itself last week on Tuesday when we had that significant rainfall, about 97.8 millimeters. The average is 70.5 or 75.7, pardon me, and we've already exceeded that. We're at about 186.0, and there's more on the way before the month is all said and done. Around the Golden Horseshoe, there's that rain that we saw. It came in a few different ways, but Nathan's right. It's gone now. We're just holding on to some really muggy conditions as we step into this kind of second half of our day. The storm watches have dropped for the city of Toronto, but they've migrated their way further east as the system makes its way out of Ontario. Temperature-wise, we're a little cooler right now thanks to some of that rain, but we are heating back up as we head into the day tomorrow, beginning a summery and sunny stretch. More on your long-range forecast coming up. Right now, it's back over to Natalie and Nathan.
Okay, thank you, Jess. A sentencing hearing began today for disgraced fashion mogul Peter Nygard.
The 83-year-old was found guilty of 4 counts of sexual assault last fall. CTV's Scott Lightfoot has more.
It was an emotional morning inside the courtroom as 3 of the victims of Peter Nygard shared how his horrific attacks have destroyed their lives. In victim impact statements, the women described living with panic attacks, ruined self-esteem, and thoughts of suicide. They also talked about being triggered when they saw clothing labels, shop signs, and billboards with the name of the once revered fashion designer. And they talked about the trauma of having to testify at the trial where Nygard was found guilty on 4 counts of sexual assault. One victim told the judge, "Testifying in court for this rape has been one of the most horrendous experiences of my life, as horrendous as the action Mr. Nygard perpetrated against me." The incidents repeated again today in court in disturbing detail. Nygard, who is now 83, sat in a wheelchair for part of the day, wearing a thick winter coat and hood pulled over his head. The Crown asked the judge for a sentence of 15 years behind bars, suggesting there was little chance, given his advanced age, that he would ever reoffend or be rehabilitated. He's also facing further trials in Manitoba, Quebec, and the U.S. In this case, sentencing was delayed after Nygard's lawyers left the case following his conviction last November. One victim told the court today, "It's been a long 35 years, and we've finally received justice. Please make a ruling so I can start to heal, so we can all start to heal." Nygard's sentencing hearing is expected to continue tomorrow. Scott Lightfoot, CTV News.
Learning more about the shutdown of the Science Center. The day after it was closed suddenly in June on public safety grounds, it was reopened to host a wedding.
As CTV's John Woodward reports, the happy couple say what staff told them about the building was very different from what was being said publicly.
James Jewison and his wife Sarah loved the Ontario Science Centre so much they decided to get married there.
It was an incredible night.
The big day, Saturday, June 22nd, one day after the centre was shut down in a hurry, the government pointing to failing roof panels as a danger to guests. Not what the Science Centre told the Jewsons.
They said, don't really listen to what you're hearing on the news. Like, the building is safe for your guests. You know, like, the only danger is if there's snow.
But it's the message that the building is unsafe and beyond repair the provincial government has repeated, pointing to 2 engineering reports. Critics, including the firm that designed the building, say those reports just indicate the building is showing its age and needs some maintenance. Deputy Premier Sylvia Jones stuck to that line when asked at a press conference Wednesday.
It would not be appropriate for us to ignore some very clear engineering advice that suggested structurally the building was unsound.
Next question, please. Even though the building did quite well on the rains last week.
The government is searching for an interim location before a new science centre opens at Ontario Place in 2029, as well as a home for the manufacture of exhibits the science centre has leased to other facilities all over the world.
Still a bargain.
Elsa Lam of Canadian Architect magazine says government documents estimate just the interim exhibit space alone could cost between $35 and $58 million. Meanwhile, the first engineering report estimated fixing the roof would take around $24 million over 10 years.
They made Ontario Place look as inexpensive as possible, and they made the repairs to the Ontario Science Centre look as expensive as possible.
The numbers game perhaps secondary compared to Premier Doug Ford's assertion Monday that the current location was in a sleepy neighborhood compared to a brand new building on the waterfront.
One of the staffers told me that it was somebody from up high above in government made sure that our wedding went ahead. And I don't know who that could have been, but I can't help but thank them for helping us for our wedding go ahead.
As amazing as it was to have the wedding there, Jewison says he would give it up if the building could stay open. John Woodward, CTV News.
And late today, Science Centre management said it made an exception for the wedding, which did not conflict with any immediate safety measures.
The chair of the Toronto District School Board has joined the race for the council seat representing Don Valley West. Rachel Chernos-Lynn has taken a leave of absence from her TDSB role to compete in the municipal by-election. Chernos-Lynn has represented the ward as trustee for the past 6 years. The council seat had been held by Jay Robinson, who died of cancer in May. Former mayoral candidate Anthony Furey and TTC Transit Policy Director Drew Jane are among 5 others who have registered to run. Well, there is good news tonight for homeowners and other borrowers. The Bank of Canada has cut its key interest rate by 25 basis points.
And more reductions are likely coming. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver has the details.
For the second time in less than 2 months, the Bank of Canada has cut interest rates, giving Canadians more purchasing power.
We are increasingly confident that the ingredients are now in place
to bring inflation back to the 2% target.
That confidence prompted the central bank to decrease its policy interest rate from 4.75 to 4.5%, a level not seen since June 2023. And if inflation continues to ease, Macklem says more cuts will come.
It is reasonable to expect further cuts, but the timing is going to depend on incoming data.
One of the biggest factors holding up inflation is shelter costs, as mortgage interest rates and rents remain high.
The listings have definitely been taking a little bit longer to sell.
Realtors like Paul Chan say that pressure has kept many buyers and sellers on the sidelines, waiting for rates to drop.
The first rate cut had a little bit of an impact, but now that we've got a second one, I think consumers will definitely gain that confidence.
As borrowing money gets cheaper, developers will have less interest to pay as they build more homes to meet the rising demand from Canadians who will now have more financial flexibility to buy in.
You're going to see builders being a little bit more busier, and this will also help with the resale and some clients that need to refinance their home or they want to become first-time investors.
Private sector economists say this is just the start of the bank's easing cycle. They're expecting at least 2 more cuts this year.
I think there's a chance that they don't pause, that they keep cutting into 2025 and, really for interest rates to normalize to around 3% during the second half of next year.
By that time, the Bank of Canada expects inflation to be back at 2%. But today it warned that getting there could mean some temporary increases to inflation along the way. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Ottawa.
The rate cut is set to have significant impacts on anyone with debt.
CTV's Rahim Ladani has more on how the dip is affecting people in this city.
For homeowners like Kevin, today's announcement from the Bank of Canada is perfect timing.
I don't got to get a mortgage until next month, so we'll see. And hopefully get a better rate than what I pre-qualified at.
For the second time in as many months, the BOC has lowered its key interest rate by 25 basis points, meaning more breathing room.
Now with the interest rates coming down 50 basis points, it's a little bit more comforting. I think a lot more people can stomach it a little bit.
It's been over a year since the rate was this low in Canada, although it is not expected to be enough of a drop to spur much activity in the housing market.
There's no way I could afford to live in the city except renting.
A small condo, or like now it's almost a 1 million here in this area. That's too much.
Outside of housing, the rate cut also means the cost of borrowing money is cheaper, so you're able to keep more of it.
You're going to notice that your interest on your line of credit will fall, but you still have your line of credit that you have to contend with. So if you run up that amount, this is not going to bring relief to that, just to the interest component. And same thing for credit card debt as well.
With inflation now at 2.7% and within the Bank of Canada's target range, there are other areas of the economy also seeing an impact.
Grocery inflation has come down. Gas prices have moderated. A lot of that has to do with interest rate hikes in the past. And all of those together, I think moving forward, will be gradually coming lower.
With labor markets falling and excess supply, there may be more rate cuts in 2024. Although the Bank of Canada will need to be delicate not to weaken the economy too much. Rahim Ladani, CTV News.
Canada's women's soccer team is reeling from allegations that a drone was used not once but twice to spy on their opponents from New Zealand.
The revelations come ahead of the defending Olympic champions' opening match, and many asking what kind of game are they really playing. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth has the details.
An alleged spying scandal at the Paris Olympics has Canada's women's soccer team mired in a major controversy heading into the Summer Games. Following reports of drones flying over New Zealand's team practices on Monday and last Friday, the 2 members of the Canadian team, analyst Joseph Lombardi and assistant coach Jasmine Mander, have been sent home. Head coach Bev Priestman has apologized and removed herself from tomorrow's opening match.
The IOC does not have a pending investigation, to my understanding. FIFA, I believe, indicated earlier today that they have begun a disciplinary proceeding in relation to the 3 individuals that were subject to our sanction. New Zealand Football has registered a complaint to FIFA and has in fact asked that no points be awarded to Canada in the event that Canada were to win the match.
Soccer journalist John Molinaro expects a more thorough investigation in the near future.
There's sort of financial sanctions or sporting penalties against Canada.
But I don't think we've heard or seen the last of this.
This is the second time a Canadian soccer team has been involved in a drone incident. 3 years ago in Toronto, Honduras, preparing to play Canada, stopped a men's World Cup qualifier practice after seeing a drone above the field. Another element to mix in with this is the fact that Canada is the defending gold medal champion in women's soccer, which means they are a signature group and they were going to get a lot of media attention to begin with. Now that media attention will be mixed with controversy and distraction just as these summer games are set to begin. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
As Alberta battles two wildfires moving in on Jasper National Park, officials are working to locate any hikers who could still be in the backcountry.
If those people on those trails are comfortable and their direction of travel is sort of away from the main fire, we're encouraging those people to through hike and just hike out quickly on their own and sort of evacuate the community or evacuate the national park along the trail on foot. So those communications are ongoing right now, and we do anticipate that those personnel or those people who are hiking in the backcountry or those evacuations will be completed today.
About 25,000 people have already fled the approaching flames this week.
Neighboring British Columbia is facing a spike in wildfires after a massive amount of lightning in recent days. More than 400 fires are burning around the province, and at least 20 buildings have been lost to the flames. More than 80% of wildfires in the BC area were started by lightning, and about 2/3 of the fires being fought remain out of control.
To Washington now, where the FBI director has shared new details on the assassination attempt against former U.S. President Donald Trump.
Christopher Wray says the shooting, which also killed one rally-goer and injured 2 others, is under investigation as an act of domestic terrorism.
We're going to leave no stone unturned. The shooter may be deceased, but the FBI's investigation is very much ongoing.
Christopher Wray says his agency is yet to determine anything specific in terms of the shooter's potential motive, but they say he had apparently grown interested in public officials and apparently had visited the site of the Pennsylvania rally in advance. He was killed by a Secret Service sniper. The FBI assessed he had acted alone. It's been a day of demonstrations across Washington, D.C. as Israel's prime minister delivered an address to a joint session of Congress.
Benjamin Netanyahu reflected on the ties between the two countries and Washington's support after the October 7th Hamas attacks.
Through thick and thin, in good times and in bad, Israel will always be your loyal friend and your steadfast partner. On behalf of the people of Israel, I came here today to say, thank you, America. Thank you for your support and solidarity. Thank you for standing in Israel, with Israel, in our hour of need.
The Israeli PM's speech touched on a range of issues, including efforts to reach a ceasefire and hostage deal with Hamas. He also specifically thanked both U.S. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump for their support. Dozens of Democratic representatives opted to not attend, while Netanyahu defended Israel's handling of the war in Gaza. Demonstrators say it was wrong to host him as the death toll in Gaza continues to rise.
We've sent a pretty clear message over the past 9 months, not just in D.C., but on a global level, how much disapproval there is on a global scale for all of the war crimes and the genocide happening in Palestine. And this is just reaffirming that we don't welcome Netanyahu's presence and that his invitation is anything but democratic.
Police in Washington used pepper spray as participants in a pro-Palestinian protest tried to block streets near the U.S. Capitol ahead of Netanyahu's speech. Police say tear gas was deployed after some members of the crowd became violent and failed to obey orders to move back from the police line.
While she'll be meeting one-on-one with Israel's prime minister tomorrow, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris was in Indiana today for a campaign event with a historically black sorority.
Because when we fight, we win. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
The VP signaled plans to keep campaigning on issues like abortion, which has prompted divisions within the Republican Party, much like the debate over Israel and Gaza has among Democrats. Harris also called Joe Biden a leader with bold vision as she takes over as the likely Democratic nominee for president. Biden himself will deliver an Oval Office address at 8 tonight on his decision not to seek re-election.
At least 18 people are dead after a plane crashed during takeoff in Nepal. Officials say the pilot is the only survivor after the plane skidded off the runway at the international airport in Kathmandu and caught fire. Police say all those on board were employees of the airline. The plane was en route for technical maintenance. Nepal is known to be one of the riskiest places to fly because of its mountainous terrain and sudden weather changes.
An Ontario company is now at the center of an international criminal investigation for its alleged role in an elaborate pyramid scheme.
It is accused of taking advantage of hundreds of thousands of investors around the world and disappearing with more than $2 billion. CTV's Adrian Gabriel reports.
A crime crafted by a Canadian-based company carried out across the world.
It's like whack-a-mole. Every time you find one, you close it down, another one pops up.
Metaverse Foreign Exchange, also known as MTFE, pitched itself as a reputable trading platform. Federally incorporated in Ontario with a Canadian director, it was even registered with Canada's money laundering watchdog, FinTrack. Now a joint investigation by the Investigative Journalism Foundation and CTV National News reveals that names associated with MTFE are part of a network of dozens of Canadian shell companies believed to be peddling cryptocurrency investment schemes. Marketed heavily to investors in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, hundreds of thousands of people in those countries invested their money using MTFE's online app. In August 2023, the Canadian company's platform went offline, leaving clients in the dark. An estimate of more than $2 billion vanished.
I don't think people expect something like that to happen in a country like Canada.
In Bangladesh, one corporate lawyer has been following the money trail.
I think the target market for these products are the more vulnerable population.
Our investigation into Metaverse Foreign Exchange led us here to this office building in Markham, Ontario, Unit 500 to be exact. Once we began digging even deeper, we found a total of 97 money service businesses that have all used that one suite as their address. So we decided to follow the trail and pay Unit 500 a visit.
Hi, how are you? Good. My name's Adrian Gabriel. I'm with CTV National News.
Inside, we found a shared office space. A manager whose identity we're protecting alleges that there's a list of criminal companies using this location as their business address.
I have 650 legitimate clients here. Okay? 90% of them are good, legitimate businesses. There's 10% of that group that are not, but we can't keep track of the people that are using it.
In Sri Lanka, a criminal investigation has been opened. Court records show 3 people have been arrested for money laundering, and that MTFE's parent company in Canada allegedly pocketed 30 to 40% of all service fees. FinTrack has suspended Metaverse's registration, though the director of Canada's Money Service Business Association believes the culprits behind this apparent made-in-Canada scam may have vanished, with far more than the $2 billion being reported.
Times that by 10. There's way more than just Metaverse. I guarantee you this group that you've discovered is still operating.
So who do we believe is behind Metaverse, and how are these criminal companies exploiting Canada's system? We dive into that tomorrow. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Toronto.
Team Canada has officially named its flag bearers for Friday's opening ceremony in Paris. A pair of gold medalists, weightlifter Maude Chiron and sprinter Andre de Grasse, will carry the flag in what's expected to be a unique parade of nations, not marching into a stadium, but instead sailing boats down the Seine River in the heart of Paris.
I thought they made a mistake. I was not supposed to do the opening ceremony. And now I'm doing it and I'm leading it. It's such a great honor.
This is going to be a big memory for me and, for my family to watch this and just to be a part of it. So I'm just super honored and super excited to really just to do it.
The opening ceremony for the Paris Games will kick off Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.
Still ahead, honoring the legacy of the late Norman Jewison, how Canada Post is commemorating the Toronto-born director who left his stamp on the film world.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, romance scams continue to be a major problem for people looking for love. Canadians have already lost $23 million this year to romance fraud. Tonight, 2 victims tell their stories to try and warn others. I'll have my report just ahead.
And after all the rain, we did hover around the seasonal mark throughout the day today, but as we get in towards the end of the week and step into the weekend, the heat is on and we're climbing back into the 30s. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including what you can expect now that we're done with the rain for now. And stay with us, we have another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
After investment and job scams, romance scams are the third most common way criminals are fleecing Canadians from their money.
Victims lost $52 million to romance fraud in 2023 and have already lost another $23 million to scammers this year. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Natalie. And Nathan, it's a scam that never seems to go away, and victims are upset that they don't find true love and they end up losing their money. We speak with two victims, one who was caught in the classic online dating scam and another who actually met her scammer in person.
I feel like he groomed me for 4 years.
Paige Harkness decided to try online dating 4 years ago. While using a telephone dating site, she connected with a man and they met in person twice. He wore a tailored suit, said he flew by private jet, and managed a hedge fund.
He almost always was saying he was flying private, and I had no reason to question it because the success he said he had and the company he worked for.
Harkness says she never saw him again, but several times a year he would send her a text to say hello. Recently, he contacted her to say he had a surefire investment opportunity. She was scammed out of $14,000.
It's going to be $14,000 of my money that I took off on a line of credit against my home.
Yes, if I'm single, I said, yes, I'm single. He seemed to be in love with me and he wanted to know more about me.
A woman we'll call Rama asked us not to identify her after she was caught in a romance scam. She was on Facebook when she connected with a man who claimed he was the captain of a cruise ship in the UK. He professed his love for her and started sending her gifts of designer purses, watches, and jewelry. But he claimed it got tied up at the Canadian border and she needed to pay brokerage fees, taxes, insurance, and other costs. She was scammed out of a total of $62,000.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm so broken. Till now, I'm so broken because I take out all my life saving. I even take my line of credit of $54,000.
Signs of a romance scam: when someone declares their love for you quickly, they make excuses not to meet in person, you're told not to discuss the relationship with others, and you're asked for money for travel or an emergency. Both women say they should have seen the red flags sooner and wanted to share their story to warn others.
I feel so stupid because I should have avoided this, could have been avoided. Like, probably I should have gone to the police from the beginning.
And scammers will create dating profiles with stolen photos and information that are tailored to the type of person you're looking for. AI may give criminals even more of an advantage to fool people looking for love online. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Okay, let's circle back to the weather story because we are all so tired of the rain. And even though it wasn't that much this afternoon, it did put us over the top for that July record.
Right, and it gave us flashbacks to last week, Tuesday. Thankfully, it wasn't as bad.
I know, my heart couldn't take it a second time. But we are looking at a significant number. So again, as you mentioned, it wasn't like we saw a crazy amount of rain today, nothing like last week, but because we are so saturated in the ground and the water levels are already so high, it doesn't take much to kind of crack that threshold and see a little bit of localized flooding. The good news is we get a break for now and finally a little bit of sunshine on the way. But that rain, it made its way around as we made our way throughout the afternoon, prompting a bit of a messy drive for some folks. We know now that we're kind of saturated when it comes to all the rain, so just giving yourself extra time on the roads and always drive according to the road and weather conditions. If it doesn't feel like you can make it through, don't try it, right? But now we're done with the rain. We're holding on to some sunshine as we step in towards the end of the day today and we kick off really the middle of the week and the weekend. We're sitting at 25. We warmed up a little bit since that rain has made its way through, but it still feels like 30, and we're holding on to a decent amount of humidity as we head in towards the evening. Now, 17 tonight, very seasonal, a comfortable night for a lot of folks right around southern Ontario at or just a degree or so above where we should be. Into the day tomorrow, we're a little below. The bulk of that system was north of us, but that cold front that swung down from it, that's what kind of has brought in a little bit cooler air. But with the humidex, it still feels like 29 tomorrow, so it's still very summery as we head into towards our Thursday. The bulk of that system, again, has pushed its way in towards Quebec. That cold front, that's what brought some of those spotty showers throughout the afternoon. And then as we step in towards the day tomorrow, an area of high pressure is going to make its way in and clear things out. And it's really quite lovely. So for the rest of our evening, we're holding on to a decent amount of sunshine before the sun sets this evening. Not a ton in the way of cloud cover tomorrow. Sunglasses, sun protection, all good ideas if you're going to spend some time outside. Not much in the way of any active weather for the GTA, which is some good news. I know a lot of folks still cleaning up, obviously from last week and then maybe some from today. As we head in towards our Friday, more of the same really brilliant sunshine. Maybe you're taking off a little early to a cottage this weekend. It will be fantastic. Stepping into our Saturday and Sunday, though, things start to get a little warmer. We do a kind of a slow but steady climb and temperatures start to creep back into the 30s. Throughout the day tomorrow, we're holding on close to seasonal. For Friday, we are spot on for where we should be for this time of year, but through your Saturday and Sunday, it gets warmer and warmer. In towards Monday, we stay into the 30s for the daytime high, the humidex values into the mid to upper 30s. As we head in towards our Tuesday or Wednesday, the chance of maybe a spotty shower. We'll keep a close eye on that, but regardless, we really do step in towards the end of the month of July in a beautiful and very sunny way. Nathan, I'll send things back over to you.
All right, thank you, Jess. Coming up on CTV News, the word Barbie is written in Braille on the packaging, and inside the doll is visually impaired. More on Mattel's push for inclusivity when we come back.
The province is looking at expanding the number of healthcare services that pharmacists are authorized to provide. Since January of last year, pharmacists have been able to treat and prescribe treatment for a list of common ailments. Those include cold sores, pink eye, and acid reflux. The Ministry of Health says more than 1 million assessments under those powers. Now it is holding consultations on expanding the list of common ailments to include conditions like sore throat, mild headaches, and certain sleep disorders.
Pharmacists can do this, they do it well, they provide access, they create capacity in our healthcare system, and patients and the public trust their pharmacists to continue to develop the care and take advantage of our footprint in the over 5,000 healthcare hubs that we have today in the province.
If the proposal goes ahead, pharmacy staff could also administer a broader range of vaccines and order more types of laboratory tests.
Barbie's introducing new dolls as part of an effort to promote inclusivity. Mattel has introduced its first ever blind Barbie. The toy maker collaborated with several organizations to make sure the doll is an accurate reflection of a blind person. Groups like the American Foundation for the Blind provided input on the doll's clothes and mobility aids.
Pixar's Inside Out 2 has set another record at the box office.
Make Riley happy. Sadness makes her sad. Fear protects her from the scary stuff she can see. And my job is to protect her from the scary stuff she can't see.
The sequel is now the highest-grossing animated film of all time worldwide, surpassing Disney's Frozen 2 for the record. Disney holds 7 of the top 10 spots.
My entire world is right here in this picture, and I have no idea how to save it alone.
And as Marvel Studios brings Deadpool and Wolverine to theaters this weekend, reports out of Hollywood show it is likely to get a warm welcome at the box office. Deadline projects the R-rated film starring Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman could open to $170 million U.S. in ticket sales across North America. That contrasts with Marvel's lowest opening ever with The Marvels last year.
Still to come, concerns over customer data. The Privacy Commissioner is investigating complaints by Optimum points collectors who say they can't leave the PC program.
It has all of the earmarks of what would appear to be a gun battle.
Updating our top stories now, a man and a woman are dead and 2 men suffered serious injuries after an exchange of gunfire early this morning in Scarborough. It happened around 2:30 a.m. in the area of Ellesmere Road, not far from Midland. Investigators have been combing the plaza and working to collect a video, but so far haven't shared any suspect information.
It's also about making sure that, we reduce this from 3 to 2 years.
The province is committing up to $73 million to the City of Toronto in a push to speed up construction on the Gardiner Expressway. Lane closures, congestion, and gridlock have been plaguing downtown during a rebuild of the highway between Strawn and Dufferin. With construction okayed on a 24/7 basis, officials say the project would be done by April 2026 instead of 2027.
FIFA, I believe, indicated earlier today that they have begun a disciplinary proceeding.
And just days before the 2024 Summer Olympic Games get underway in Paris, Canada's gold medal winning women's soccer team is facing potential sanctions. This follows allegations of spying on their opponents from New Zealand. Head coach Bev Priestman has removed herself from tomorrow's opening match, and 2 team staff members were sent home.
Remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video of breaking news, let us know.
In business, U.S. tech stocks were down again today. Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg brings us the latest.
Hello there. U.S. markets dropped sharply and Toronto edged lower today as investors dumped shares in Tesla and Google's parent company, Alphabet. America's tech-heavy NASDAQ Composite Index slid almost 4%, leaving it down 7% from a record high on July 10th. Tesla shares plunged 12% on disappointing profit margins as the car seller offered financing packages to make its vehicles more affordable. And Alphabet warned that capital spending this year will be more than $49 billion as the company invests massively in artificial intelligence. On the markets, the Canadian dollar was at 72.4 US cents, down almost 1/5 of a cent. WTI oil changed hands at $77.59 US a barrel for the North American benchmark, up 63 cents. And Western Canadian Select oil was at $60.47, down 2.36. Finally, the TSX Composite ended at 22,639.57, down just over 174 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
The Privacy Commissioner's office has opened an investigation into allegations that some Loblaw customers have been unable to delete their PC Optimum accounts. A spokesperson says the office has received several complaints. Loblaw says it has processes to respond to requests for account deletion in a timely manner and will fully cooperate with the investigation. The Privacy Commissioner's office oversees compliance with the Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act, as well as the Privacy Act.
The Blue Jays are gearing up for a Toronto Caribbean Carnival celebration on Friday.
The Toronto Caribbean Carnival, we are the main procurers of diversity and culture in Toronto, and we are so happy to be working with the Toronto Blue Jays to make sure that that happens. And the reason that we can give the city $180 million in tax revenues and the federal government and the provincial government is that we can have partnerships like that to really promote the Caribbean culture and really the economics of this carnival.
In addition to the game, there will be live music and performances at the Rogers Centre. The Jays will be opening a weekend series against the Texas Rangers.
And this one sent to deep center field. It is gone.
Meanwhile, the Jays will continue their series with the Tampa Bay Rays this evening. The team lost 4-2 in the series opener last night. First pitch is set for just after 7 p.m.
Tonight, slowing inflation spurs another cut in interest rates.
The ingredients to bring inflation back to target are in place.
What it means for consumers and the possibility of more cuts to come later on CTV National News.
Canada Post has unveiled a stamp honoring the late Norman Jewison.
CTV's Andrea Case has more on the posthumous honor for the Toronto-born director.
Doing the honors of revealing Canada Post's newest commemorative stamp celebrating the life and legacy of Norman Jewison, his widow Lynn St. David Jewison, and Canada Post Doug Ettinger.
He told compelling stories with the shaping of great stories so that people would think about things differently, maybe even act differently, which was wonderful.
The acclaimed Toronto-born filmmaker died earlier this year. Film critic Richard Krause calls Jewison his mentor and friend.
His legacy is the way that he helped people. He helped me early on in my career by giving me the confidence to be a film critic. He got in touch with me. He reached out and said, I like what you do. And others, world-famous filmmakers, weren't doing that. And so that meant a huge amount to me, and we've stayed in touch for all the years since then.
The photo picked by Jewison before he died was taken in the screening room of the Canadian Film Centre by Peter Bregg in 2007.
After the picture was published in Hello magazine, he called me. He says, "Could I have that picture?" Yeah, of course, because I always give my pictures to the subjects whenever I can. And he says, "Do you mind if I use it?" I said, "No, I'd be thrilled if you used it."
It's fitting that Jewison should end up on a stamp because he was an avid stamp collector. He was even sworn in as a postmaster in his father's store when he was a young man. Maxine Bailey now runs the CFC, which Jewison founded 3 decades ago. Its programs trains the next generation of filmmakers.
Funny, smart, intelligent, creative, passionate. Oh my God, he had the best laugh and giggle. And he believed that Canadians could actually run the creative industries. And he wanted to make sure that we were training the best of the best, and that's what we do here.
The permanent domestic Norman Jewison stamp is now available. Andrea Case, CTV News.
Such a great honor. So we've got some sunshine to look forward to.
Yeah, the rest of the week is looking good after another day of rain. The sun is in sight.
Stamp of approval.
Oh.
You're welcome on that forecast. But we had, it wasn't, I would say, an insignificant amount of rain today, but because we've had so much as of late, every rainfall that we have from now through to the end of the month is going to cause the potential of localized ponding and pooling on the roads and even a little flooding. The good news is, over the next few days, high pressure moves in and a much more stable air mass sits over us, making for a fantastic forecast as we step in towards the end of the month. We're no longer under the severe thunderstorm watch, but still a few trickling through eastern portions of Ontario and down towards St. Catharines. There's that line of showers there. It dropped a pretty hefty amount of rain off and on throughout the day today, but the good news is we're done for now. Sitting at 25, feeling like 30, still pretty toasty out there. Now, as we head in towards your Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, it gets warmer and warmer and warmer. Enjoy it, do it safely, and we are going to say goodbye to July in a pretty beautiful way.
Okay, thank you, Jess. Be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Sean Leithong with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a good night.